My name is Margaret, and my daughter abandoned me at 60 until she found out I owned a $5 million mansion. Before we get into the story, tell us in the comment section where you are watching from. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave your honest review. I live in a small, modest apartment tucked away on the quieter side of town. It's nothing fancy, worn furniture, peeling wallpaper in some corners, a kitchen that rattles with every open cabinet, but it's mine. And even with all its imperfections, I've always tried to make it warm. A home filled with care, with love. That night I had been preparing something special. It was Sophie's birthday, my only child. My pride, and once, my joy. I cooked her favorite dishes: roasted chicken, creamy mashed potatoes, and the chocolate cake she loved as a little girl. The table was set with care, candles lit, plates laid out as though this small, simple home could transform into something magical. I had been waiting for her since 6. By 7, the candles had begun to droop, wax dripping into puddles. By 8, the food was growing cold. I kept glancing at the door, at the clock, then back at the door again. And then, finally, at almost 9, there was a knock. I rushed to the door, my heart lifting, only to be greeted not by warmth, but by the sharp perfume of my daughter's new life. Sophie swept in, heels clicking, phone glued to her hand. At 30, she had the kind of polished beauty people notice immediately: sleek hair, sharp cheekbones, the cold glint of ambition in her eyes. She barely looked at me before tossing her bag onto the couch. "Sorry I'm late," she said, her eyes never leaving her glowing phone screen. I smiled anyway, trying to brush it off. "I'm just glad you made it, sweetheart. Dinner's ready." We sat down, but she never once put her phone away. Every time I tried to talk, her fingers tapped out another message. Her eyes darted to another notification. I asked about her work. She shrugged. I asked about her friends. She muttered a few words without looking up. Finally, I couldn't help myself. "Sophie, do you remember when you were little? You'd beg me to make this cake every year on your birthday. You'd sneak into the kitchen and eat the frosting before it cooled." For the first time that evening, she looked up at me. But there wasn't softness in her eyes. There was irritation. "Mom," she said flatly, "can we not do the whole nostalgia trip tonight? I don't have time for this." The words stung, but I swallowed them. I forced a smile, trying to hold on to something, anything, that would remind her of the bond we once had. But then, out of nowhere, she sighed heavily and put down her fork. "Mom, I can't keep doing this." My chest tightened. "Doing what?" She leaned back, crossing her arms. "This. Coming here, pretending everything's fine, pretending you're not dragging me down." Her words hit like a slap. "Dragging you down? Sophie, I don't understand." She rolled her eyes. "You don't get it, do you? I'm trying to build a life. A real life. Everyone I know has parents who actually helped them get somewhere. Money, connections, support. What do I have? A mother living in a rundown apartment, clinging to old memories and hand-me-down dreams." I felt the ground shifting beneath me. "Sophie, I gave you everything I could. I worked double shifts to put you through school. I skipped meals so you'd have enough. Yeah," she cut in. "But it wasn't enough, was it? You gave me scraps while everyone else had banquets. Do you know how embarrassing it is to show up with nothing? To be nothing?" I sat there in stunned silence. The birthday candles flickered between us, shadows dancing on the walls like ghosts of the past. Finally she stood, grabbing her bag. "I can't keep wasting my time here. From now on, I think it's better if we stop this. No more dinners, no more calls. You do your thing, I'll do mine." My throat tightened. "Sophie, are you saying you don't want to see me anymore?" She hesitated for just a second. Then her eyes hardened. "That's exactly what I'm saying." And just like that, she walked toward the door. I scrambled to my feet, desperate, my voice breaking. "Sophie, please, don't leave me like this. You're all I have." She turned back one last time, her face cold and unrecognizable, and with a bitter laugh she said, "You'll never have anything I want anyway." Then she was gone. The door slammed, the candles flickered out. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound I'd ever known. I sank into my chair, staring at the untouched food, at the birthday cake still waiting to be cut. My chest ached in ways I couldn't put into words. My only daughter, my whole world, had abandoned me. I thought I had nothing left. But then, my eyes drifted, almost unconsciously, to the old wooden box tucked away on the shelf. It was small, worn, its brass lock catching the dim light of the room. A box Sophie had never asked about, never noticed. Inside it lay the secret I had carried for decades, a secret that could change everything. The days after Sophie's departure were the hardest I'd ever endured. I woke up to silence. No calls, no visits, no laughter echoing in the kitchen the way it used to when Sophie was small. The apartment, once alive with my hope and efforts to keep her close, now felt like a tomb. Every corner reminded me of sacrifice. The worn sofa where I sat night after night sewing hems and patching clothes so she could go to school in something decent. The chipped dining table where I pretended instant noodles were a feast, just to make her smile. Now it was all for nothing. I spent hours questioning myself. Had I failed her as a mother? Had I given too little? Loved her too much? Loneliness has a cruel way of digging up old ghosts. And it was in that loneliness that my eyes once again wandered to the old wooden box on the shelf. That box carried a story Sophie never knew. I was 26 when the letter came. My uncle, the only relative who ever truly believed in me, had passed away. He left me his estate. At the time, I couldn't even comprehend the scale of it. A mansion, worth millions. When I first stepped through its towering oak doors, I was overwhelmed. Marble floors, sprawling staircases, chandeliers that glittered like stars. It was more house than one woman could ever need. But my uncle didn't leave it to me for wealth. He left it as a reminder. "Don't let the world change your heart, Margaret," his final letter had said. "This house is yours, but your values, your humility, are worth more than any fortune." I knew, even then, that Sophie could never know. As a little girl, she already had a hunger for more, for better clothes, prettier toys, bigger things. If she knew we had a mansion, I feared she'd lose herself entirely to greed. So I chose modesty. I locked away the deed, and I lived in this small apartment, raising her as best as I could with what I earned. Now at 60, I still lived as though the mansion didn't exist. Meanwhile, Sophie was thriving, or at least she wanted the world to think so. I saw her face online sometimes. Bright smile, champagne glass in hand, designer dresses that sparkled under nightclub lights. Sunlit photos on beaches I could never afford to see. She flaunted everything, as though life itself had bent at her feet. And all the while here I was, watering the plants on my little balcony, clipping coupons for groceries, boiling tea to soothe my aching bones. It didn't bother me, not really. I had chosen this life. Humble, quiet, honest. But deep down, I wished she had chosen me too. One morning, I bent down to water the small row of flowers outside my apartment door. My knees ached, my back complained, but tending those plants gave me a sense of purpose. They were small, delicate, but alive, unlike the silence inside. But as I leaned forward, a sharp pain shot through my chest. The world spun. The watering can clattered to the ground, spilling across the concrete. My body gave way beneath me. The next thing I knew, I was staring at the sky, breath shallow, limbs weak. "Margaret!" It was a voice, urgent, panicked. And then a pair of hands, firm but gentle, lifting me. My neighbor, Mrs. Patel, a kind woman from down the hall. She had always checked in from time to time, offering leftover curries or a small smile in passing. "Are you all right? Should I call someone?" she asked, worry creasing her brow. I shook my head, trying to find my breath. "No, I'll be fine." But the truth was I wasn't fine, not at all. Mrs. Patel didn't press. Instead, she sat with me until the dizziness passed, her hand resting lightly on mine. "You're not alone, you know," she said softly. "Even when you feel like it." Her words cut through me in a way I didn't expect. After Sophie's abandonment, I had convinced myself I had no one. But in that moment, I realized there were still kind souls in the world. People who saw me, not as a burden, not as a failure, but simply as a person who mattered. Later that week, I shuffled back into my apartment after a trip to the doctor, exhaustion pulling at every muscle. And that's when I saw it, a letter, official. Thick cream envelope with my attorney's name stamped across the top. My stomach knotted. I sat at the table, tore it open, and unfolded the paper inside. It was a reminder, a deadline. I had avoided it for years, but time was running out. The mansion, my uncle's estate, could not sit untouched forever. Taxes, repairs, legalities, all demanded attention. I had two choices: sell it or restore it. My hands trembled as I read the words. Sophie had no idea. No clue that the mother she abandoned lived with a secret worth millions. But secrets never stay buried forever, And here's the cruel twist of life. Just as I was trying to decide what to do with that mansion, word of it slipped into the wrong ears. The mansion stood at the edge of town, half hidden by overgrown ivy and time itself. Its once grand gates were rusted, creaking as I pushed them open. Dust floated in the late morning sun, carried by the breeze like tiny whispers of the past. I hadn't set foot here in years. The driveway stretched long, cracked with weeds, leading to the towering house that once made me feel so small. As I stood before it now, at 60 years old, I didn't feel small anymore. I just felt heavy. Inside, the air was stale. The grand staircase, lined with carved oak banisters, was coated in dust. The chandeliers were dull, their crystals clouded with years of neglect. My footsteps echoed across the marble floor, reminding me how empty it had become. And yet, the memories rushed back. I could still see my uncle in his study, glasses perched on his nose, his deep laugh filling the air. He used to tell me, "Margaret, a house is only as alive as the love you put into it." And here it was now, lifeless, waiting. My lawyer met me there that morning, handing me papers talking about options, restoration, sale, inheritance taxes. His words blurred into the background as I ran my hand along the walls, remembering the girl I once was, standing here terrified but hopeful. I thought I was alone, until I heard a voice. "Mom?" I froze. That voice, I hadn't heard it in months. When I turned, there she was. Sophie? She looked almost angelic in the sunlight streaming through the tall windows. Her designer coat draped over her shoulders, hair perfectly styled, a worried expression painted across her face. "Mom," she said again, rushing toward me. I heard you weren't well? Why didn't you tell me?" My heart clenched. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. After all the silence, after all the hurt, here she was, my daughter, reaching for me again. "I didn't want to bother you," I whispered. "You seemed busy with your life." She took my hands in hers, her eyes glistening. "Nothing is more important than you. I'm sorry for how I acted. I want to make it right." Tears burned my eyes. Against my better judgment, I let hope bloom inside me. Maybe love had won over pride. Maybe she had realized that family mattered more than ambition. For the next few days, Sophie stayed close. She offered to help me sort through the mansion, talked about restoration plans, even brought me tea as we worked. But the cracks showed quickly. Every time we opened a dusty drawer or uncovered an old painting, her eyes lit up, not with nostalgia but with calculation. "Mom, do you realize how much this would sell for?" she said, lifting a gilded frame. I shook my head. "It's not about money, Sophie. This house is full of memories. It's a part of me, of our family." She forced a smile. "Of course, but memories don't pay bills. We could sell it all, liquidate, cash out, live comfortably. Don't you want that?" I hesitated. I had lived without luxury my whole life. Comfort was tempting, but comfort bought at the cost of losing everything this mansion represented. My uncle's legacy, my own dignity, I couldn't. Still, I didn't argue. I wanted to believe her heart was in the right place. I wanted to hold on to the idea that she was here because she loved me. But deep down, something gnawed at me. It happened one evening. I had gone upstairs to the master bedroom, sifting through old letters and photos. When I came back down, I heard Sophie's voice, low, sharp, different. She was on the phone. She didn't hear me approach. "Yes, I found out," she whispered. "Can you believe it? My mom's been sitting on a gold mine all these years. A mansion worth millions." My stomach dropped. She laughed, soft but bitter. "Oh, don't worry. Once I get control of it, I'll finally have the life I deserve. No more scraping, no more pretending. This place is my ticket out." My heart cracked, each word splintering it further. So that was it. She hadn't come back for me. Not for love, not for reconciliation. She came back for the mansion. For money. For greed. I stepped back silently, tears pricking my eyes. The hope I had allowed to take root was crushed in an instant. She didn't love me. She loved what I had. As I stood in the shadow of the staircase, listening to my daughter plot her future without me in it, I realized the cruelest truth of all. My own flesh and blood saw me as nothing more than a stepping stone. But what Sophie didn't know was that I had already made a choice. A choice that would shock her. A choice that would change everything. I never thought my life would come to this moment, sitting in the very study of my mansion, staring at a stack of papers that could either seal my fate or set me free. The oak-paneled walls seemed to lean closer that morning. heavy with the scent of leather-bound books and polished wood. Sunlight streamed through the tall arched windows, catching the dust in the air, almost as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Across from me sat Sophie, my daughter, my only child, the little girl I once rocked to sleep when thunderstorms made her cry. But today she wasn't the same girl I remembered. No, the look in her eyes wasn't of love or longing. It was sharp, calculating, with that same greed I had seen flicker before but had tried to ignore. Between us sat my attorney, Mr. Green, calm and deliberate, his leather briefcase at his feet. He had warned me this day would come, that Sophie would push, and push hard, until she believed she had wrung every last drop from me. Sophie leaned forward, her manicured fingers tapping against the polished desk, a smile stretched across her face that didn't reach her eyes. "Mother," she said smoothly, "all you have to do is sign these papers. It's simple. You'll still live here, of course. Nothing will change, except I'll be able to help manage the estate. Think of it as security." Security. That word rang in my ears like a cruel joke. She wasn't offering me security, she was demanding control. I glanced at the papers spread before me, each line carefully typed, each paragraph designed to strip me of power and hand everything over to her. My chest tightened. For a moment, I almost faltered. This was my daughter, the child I had sacrificed for. The reason I had worked 3 jobs at once, the reason my own youth had slipped through my fingers. But then, I remembered the nights I sat alone on my 60th birthday, waiting for her to call, only to be abandoned. I remembered her cold dismissal when I begged to see my grandchildren, and I remembered how quickly she had reappeared, only after hearing whispers of the mansion's worth. I took a deep breath. "Sophie," I began softly, my voice trembling at first, "do you know what it means to be a mother?" She rolled her eyes. "Of course I do, Mother. I have children of my own." "No," I said, firmer now. "I don't mean giving birth. I mean the nights you go hungry so your child can eat. The days you endure cruel bosses scraping pennies together so your child can wear decent shoes to school. Being a mother means sacrifice. It means love that asks for nothing in return." Her smile faltered, but only slightly. "And I'm grateful for all you did. That's why I want to take care of this house. For both of us." But her words rang hollow, rehearsed. I shook my head slowly. "No, Sophie, you don't want to take care of the house. You want to own it. You want to control it. You want to erase me, until I'm just another forgotten woman who gave her best years away." Her eyes narrowed. "You're being dramatic. Just sign the papers, Mother." Mr. Green cleared his throat. "Mrs. Margaret doesn't have to sign anything she doesn't wish to." The tension crackled like a live wire. Sophie's cheeks flushed with anger, but she quickly masked it with a brittle laugh. I looked at her, truly looked at her, and for a moment, my heart broke all over again. How had we come to this place, where love was replaced with greed, where blood ties meant less than bank accounts? And then, I delivered the truth. "I can't give you this mansion, Sophie," I said, my voice steady, "because it's no longer mine to give." Her head snapped up. "What do you mean?" "I've already signed it over," I continued, my gaze holding hers. "But not to you, not to any one person. This house, this land, this legacy, it now belongs to a charitable trust for single mothers. Women like me, who once had nothing but determination and faith. They'll live here. They'll be supported. They'll be given the chance I fought for, but never had." For a moment, the room was utterly silent. I could hear the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall, each second like a drumbeat. Then Sophie exploded. "You're selfish," she screamed, her voice echoing against the high ceiling. "How dare you? After everything I've done for you, after being your daughter, this is how you repay me? You give my inheritance to strangers?" Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I straightened my shoulders. "You abandoned me, Sophie. Not once but many times. You showed me that money is the only language you understand. And I will not my life's work, my sacrifices, feed that greed." Mr. Green nodded, pulling out the official documents. "It is as your mother says. Legally, you have no claim. The trust is sealed, irrevocable. The mansion no longer belongs to her. It belongs to her cause." Sophie's face twisted with rage. She slammed her hand on the desk. "You'll regret this, Mother. Don't come crying to me when you're old and alone." And then, from the corner of the room, another voice spoke. It was Mrs. Lawson, my kind neighbor, the one who had stood by me when no one else would. She had quietly entered, her eyes full of compassion. "She won't be alone," Mrs. Lawson said firmly. "Not anymore." Sophie's eyes widened in shock, her lips trembling with fury. She snatched her purse, stormed to the door, and slammed it shut behind her. The silence that followed was deafening. I sat there, my hands trembling, my heart pounding, until finally, peace washed over me. I had lost my daughter's love, yes, but in its place, I had gained something I had never truly felt before: freedom. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, I walked slowly through the mansion's long halls. My footsteps echoed against the marble floors, the golden light pouring in through the windows, bathing everything in warmth. For the first time, I didn't feel chained to this house. I felt liberated. Because I knew, deep in my soul, that my legacy wasn't in the bricks or the wealth. My legacy was in the choice I made, to give hope to women like me. And with my head held high, I smiled. I was free. At last. Friends, sometimes the greatest strength is not in holding on, but in letting go. Margaret's story reminds us that dignity, love, and legacy matter more than money or empty promises. If this story touched your heart, I invite you to join our growing community by subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss the next powerful story. And if you believe in leaving behind a legacy of kindness, drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Because at the end of the day, our true worth isn't measured in what we keep, but in what we give.